A chilling tale of grave robbery and horror unfolds in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
In his home and a nearby storage. The case can only be described by prosecutors as a horror movie. All right, guys. So as we get into it, you said Ephrata. Yeah, okay, we're good. Thank you. Michelle's coming in hot with the Guilty of Crime membership. If you guys can match her, please do so. All right, we're going to jump into it. I got a lot of reading to do today, so I'm not going to overview too much without having something going, but that's Jonathan Gerlach, and this is bigger than I think many of us thought. Yeah, P is F. I got it. Ephrata. All right. Michelle, thank you so much for starting off the train. Choo, choo. All right. So, guys, this just happened 2026. Now, listen, on November 7th, 2025, he had already been robbing graves, Jonathan, but he began robbing the graves at Mount Moriah Cemetery, which we're going to go into today. Actually, going to go into the cemetery and see graves that he robbed and left open. Now, fast forward from November 7th, 2025 to January 6th, just 9 days ago, surveillance captures Gerlach's vehicle near the cemetery with bones visible in the back seat, but it gets sick. Police execute a search warrant. We're going to go into his house. I've also got leaked footage of the things that he had in the house and had on display, which is disgusting. They discovered corpses, guys, hanging from the ceiling and remains of over 100 individuals. Now, January 9th, just 6 days ago, Gerlach is formally charged with over 500 criminal counts, including burglary and abuse of a corpse and desecration of public monuments. Now, just 2 days ago, Mount Moriah Cemetery began fundraising to get upgrades in their security, have cameras, have a security guard, because people's children, people's parents, people's everything was being stolen and desecrated, and they're not happy about it, which we're going to get into as well. I'm also going to give you a 2-minute clip of the actual Ed Gein, who did this sick, twisted thing that ultimately turned into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. So, Bree, thank you so much for the Guilty of Crime membership and matching Michelle. Please thank her if you received one. Guys, again, trigger warning. If you saw this on another channel, you didn't see it here. All right. So, like I said, we're gonna see the leaked footage inside the shed of this man and other monsters. We're going to see a lot today. There's a lot of trigger warnings for everybody today. Now, listen, the charges are 26 counts of burglary, 26 counts of criminal trespass, 100 counts of abuse of a corpse, 100 counts of receiving stolen property, 26 counts of intentional desecration of public monuments, and additional related offenses. Now, the court documents reveal a calculating operation. Of course, it didn't just include Gerlach. He was intertwined into another operation of another tattooed man that had his face tattooed that says he was targeted because of the way he looks. But in fact, that's how the operation began, and they closed in on Gerlach. So we're going to hear from another grave robber that got 6 years for way lighter crimes than this. Now, the psychology behind grave robbing is pretty simple. It's historically rooted in financial gain. But many times, like the two people we'll see today, Jonathan's the main focus. The other one, Mr. Pauly, is somebody that opened the door. And what you see behind me is what it looked like when law enforcement opened the door to connect the dots with Jonathan and the other people that were desecrating bodies and selling them online illegally, right? Dead bodies, dead infants, dead people's grandparents, parents, etc. All right, so it's bad. In this case, we're talking about him in the financial gain, possibly medical research, and morbid fascination. All right, in the investigation, he was reportedly active in online groups that trade human remains. All right, so the motive really is bone trade and financial. However, there's some sick stuff that can only be attributed to a morbid fascination. All right. Now, the community response of the Mount Moriah Cemetery has launched a campaign to install cameras and reinforce the perimeter fencing because it has been pretty abandoned. Volunteers and local officials are working to identify the stolen remains and restore the desecrated graves. Jonathan Gerlach is a 34-year-old man from Ephrata, Pennsylvania, and this just came out in January 2026. But I assure you, they were monitoring, and there was an operation. Let's find these grave robbers and what they're doing. Now, this guy is heavily tattooed, and he also was in a band, a heavy metal band, a heavy metal band with lots of, by the way, thumbnails of skulls and graves and things that go to the sort. The name of his band is My Heart to Fear, which we're going to talk about. That's in Lancaster and Williamsport, the metal scene in Pennsylvania. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to start off. I don't know what happened to chat. It's come to a stop at this point. So let's see if we can get this going. I don't know if you guys are here with me. If you guys can do me a favor and put a comment in chat, because I don't see you guys at all right now. So take a look at this. This is what the scene looked like outside of his home and outside of his storage. There's literally a medical examiner and officials taking out tons of bodies. All right. There's full bodies in here. All right.
And then one.
Let's go back. I don't see y'all's comments, but I'm going to keep going. Now, listen, investigators at the home allegedly had 100+ skeletons. Police said that the remains in various states of decay, including 200+ year old of infants. Now, that crime scene unit is in front of his house in the garage. Police say he was involved in breaking into the mausoleums, etc. All right. So I just wanted to kind of show you a little bit of that and what it looked like there. If I had to see that in my neighborhood, it would be tragic to hear about this. Not only that, guys, but the smell of decomposition, and then to find babies, little babies and bodies hanging from this guy's from his garage. Right? He didn't try to hide it too much, and his whole persona revolved around him being this gravedigger. All right, I'm going to show you social media and things like that. Let's take a look into this. Again, trigger warning. Hold on. All right, Murder She Shed got some leaked video of the things that are in that home and displayed. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to read the probable cause affidavit. We're going to get into it. Let's look at these photos of the wild things that they found. All right. It's quick. So let's go. So I want you to kind of understand what it is that the law enforcement actually found. All right. So come on in, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Again, chat has kind of stopped. I don't know if Tiff says hers is frozen too. Everyone else says chat's fine. All right, well, here we go. Let's take a look inside the grave robbing and the human remains and the things that were being sold. All right, I'm so glad that I was able to dig this up. Again, no pun intended.
Ugh, what a fucking creep.
Yeah, it's like my grandmother's dentures.
It is. It's fucking gross. Look at the one hanging. Ugh. Look at these ones. All the ones behind you. God damn.
Oh, that one's still alive.
That's not almost all 5.
And again, we weren't supposed to have this. It's leaked footage. It's very creepy and very dark. The problem is you could smell the decomposition fairly close to where they were. Now, yeah, dark scale, you're absolutely right. You couldn't probably smell it because Ephrata is a lot of farmland. But when law enforcement sees these items and other people recall this weird sicko, guess what? Guess what? They did smell decomposition. And there was anywhere from years to hundreds of years old. This is in Pennsylvania, my friends. Let's watch this one more time. We have a lot to get into.
Ugh, what a fucking creep.
It's like my grandmother's
Oh my God.
dentures.
It is. It's fucking gross. Look at the one hanging. Ugh. Look at these ones. All the ones behind you. God damn.
Oh, that one's still alive.
Now, listen, there was skin on some of these torsos. Some of the torsos literally still had the skin, and some of the skin was absolutely stolen from the graves purposely in order to sell and make things like, guys, Ed Gein, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? This is a modern day Ed Gein, in my opinion. Disgusting stuff.
That's all alive. But I want to get the hand.
Wow, look at this.
I'm sorry. Oh my God.
What the fuck? Is that a pacemaker?
Hold on real quick. 1 second, guys.
Ugh, what a fucking creep.
And I'll have to concur with that. What a fucking creep, right? I mean, it's dark. Can you imagine if that happened to you and you went to go visit your grandma or your baby or your whatever, and the body was gone and you found out it was stolen and being sold online? That's what he was doing in this operation, which is a bigger operation than I even had an idea. I had no idea that it was of that extent, guys. So now I'm going to quickly show you who Ed Gein is. Hold on. Literally Ed Gein in 30 seconds. This is the modern day, in my opinion, the modern day Ed Gein. In case you guys don't know who the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or you don't recall, or you've never actually seen the real Ed Gein, aka Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you guys know? This is him.
Born in 1906 in Wisconsin, Ed Gein grew up under a controlling, fanatically religious mother. After her death, his obsession with corpses spiraled into horror. In 1957, police discovered human remains in his farmhouse, masks, furniture, and clothing made from human skin. His crimes shocked the world and inspired iconic horror characters like Norman Bates, Leatherface, and Buffalo Bill. Though convicted of murder, he was declared insane and spent the rest of his life in a mental institution. Ed Gein, the real-life monster behind Hollywood's darkest nightmares. Who is Ed Gein?
All right, and one more quick clip of Ed Gein and his actual voice and what he did. So if this does not demonstrate the modern day Ed Gein and the faces and the things, I don't know what will. Okay, but again, I'm going to show a quick Ed Gein's real voice and footage so you can see how creepy and similar that Jonathan Gerlach is actually to Ed Gein and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wonder if he's going to get a Netflix deal. Tracy Smith, thank you for becoming a member, and thank you for the $2 super chat. She says, Jay, I love the community you have created. I appreciate that. One more clip of Ed Gein so you guys know exactly who we're comparing Jonathan Gerlach to.
Did you work all night at that?
This is Ed Gein.
That's right. What would you do with the sexual part?
That was in.
One was painted, they said.
Oh, that one, when they died.
Now, he's talking about the sexual acts that he did to the bodies that he desecrated. Now, Ed Gein, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, did a lot more than just collecting and making lampshades with them. He was actually into necrophilia, etc. And we can't rule that out right now with this with this case of Jonathan Ephrata.